Brian Ortega dropped the ball during his post-fight speech in New Mexico. And the reason why I say that is because he did not go out and call out the new champion, which is Ilya Tapora. Rather, he wanted to remain reserved, religious, but at the same time, you can compare that to Khabib when he called out Conor McGregor after his Michael Johnson fight in New York. And why is that significant? Because right now, Brian Ortega is in a religious revival in his life, which, by the way, is great. It's not anything to laugh at or to mock in any type of way, especially as a God-fearing Muslim man myself. But at the same time, there's the aspects of the fight business that I think is really important to highlight in this particular story. For one, you got to take into consideration the fact that you are in the fight business. And when you're in the fight business, yes, there's a lot of people that are going to support you that are hardcore fans that understand the sport, that understand talent from people that are just hype. The hardcore fans, they understand this. The problem is the casuals and the NPCs of the world, they just don't understand any of that. They don't understand skill, dedication, respect, dignity. None of these words mean anything to the casual fan base or the NPCs of the world. So therefore, you got to understand that in order for you to make a noise out there, whether you are an up-and-coming contender, a two-time title challenger with the likes of Brian Ortega, or supposedly was going to be a two-time challenger, but once again, dropped the ball on this particular matter at hand. You see, Khabib is somebody that I'm referencing in this particular story. Because in 2016, as you know, he fought Michael Johnson. Was one of the most brutal fights that, in terms of Khabib's performance, now he didn't brutalize Michael Johnson. In fact, I think some would argue that he sort of gave him mercy in that. However, that particular performance, which by the way was reacted to by Snoop Dogg live, there's a video out there of Snoop Dogg sitting in his studio watching the UFC 205 prelims with Conor McGregor headlining against Eddie Alvarez. And in here he comes in his studio, Snoop Dogg, watching Khabib Nurmagomedov beat the living breaks out of Michael Johnson, talking to him, saying, "Brother, you must give up. You must do this." Guess what? It was completely epic to its highest degree. Absolutely epic. You want to know what the problem was with Brian Ortega? He had a similar type of performance. And I'm not talking about a one-sided beatdown, but even better than that. He was in a very competitive matchup with Yair Rodriguez, only to submit Yair Rodriguez later down the road. And when he did, it was under the circumstances of hurting himself prior to the fight, because if you notice, when he was jumping up and down, he had sort of landed on his knee wrong, which ultimately affected how he was going to perform in that fight. And you've seen how that went down, but he persevered through it. And then the backstory that he has going on outside of the cage. So it was all remarkable. The problem was, he said, we're going to talk about it later. I don't want to talk trash. I don't want to offend anyone. And I sort of understand this. I understand it, but at the same time, it's rather frustrating because it's sort of blind to the realities, or tone deaf rather. Tone deaf, I think, is the right word to use it. Tone deaf in what these insane fans out there really want. And what exactly is that? What they want is somebody to cause controversy. Because guess what? There's a certain part of your brain that remembers chaos, controversy, conflict, and all of these things in between more than you will remember the positive things about what a person has said or what they have done, especially on a world stage. Here's something you guys have to understand. What you do in your real life, and what do I mean by real life? I'm talking about the cordial meetings that you have with your family, with your friends, with your coworkers on a daily basis. These are all cordial acts. But MMA and the world of entertainment and sports, it's not about cordial actions. It is about rapid and massive actions. And what do I mean by rapid and massive options? Well, for one, when I mean rapid, we live in a world where you have to be on the ball, especially if you're doing this YouTube thing. For example, you have to drop videos almost every day to stay in the algorithm. You have to do the lives in order to make your channel relevant, in order to build a new audience. So this is what I mean by rapid. And then you also have to be a sensation. And if you look at what the word sensation means, well, a lot of it really deals with your senses, what you see, what you smell, what you visualize. All these things are very important in the show business. And yes, this is a real sport. People do fight for real. People do get real belts. People do get placed in real competitive architectural rankings. These are all matters of fact in the world of mixed martial arts. But what's also a matter of fact in the world of mixed martial arts is business. And you are in the business of entertainment. Now, look, like I said, I understand exactly what Brian Ortega means when he's trying to take a religious Christian route. But if you want to talk about the most religious man in the history of combat sports, I think a lot of people would agree that's Khabib. Correct? Right or wrong? If you don't agree with that, let me know. But the reality is, the man has never touched a drink in his life. He's never smoked a joint in his life. He's never done haram and degenerate things that we in the West have been exposed to. He's never done any of those things. It's fair to say he's the most religious man in combat sports. The most religious man in combat sports who also attacked somebody after a mixed martial arts fight. And if you guys remember, I'm talking about Dylan Dennis after the Conor McGregor fight. But before that Conor McGregor fight, he provoked something out of Conor McGregor. And this is something you guys have to understand that I am trying to tell you when it comes to this particular game. You have to provoke the man. Because in order to be the man, you have to beat the man. But in order for you to beat the man first, you have to convince the man why they should fight you. And Conor McGregor realized, you know what, this man is calling me a chicken in my own show that I'm headlining at UFC 205 in New York. I'm going to show him. But first, I'm going to go get that money with Floyd, box, come back to MMA, and then me and Khabib could do the dance after. But prior to that, you know what? Let me tell you what Conor McGregor said on the post-press conference of UFC 205 when he became the double champion. You know what he said? He said, I need to see more activity out of Khabib. So, what did Khabib do as a result? Well, he did exactly that. He showed a level of activity that got him back to that fold of title contendership. And then at that point, it became undeniable because guess what? The fact that he called him a chicken, and Conor McGregor has even referenced this because there was a video of Conor McGregor in Ukraine getting a shoe thrown at him by a Dagestani while he was doing a promo for Parry Match fight gear. This was right before the Donald Cerrone fight, by the way, so somewhere around 2019, obviously way before the Russian and Ukrainian conflict. So as a result, Conor told the Dagestani man, hey, look, you want to know why I said this about your whole entire country? Because you guys were selling chickens in grocery shops with my face on it. And this is something that Conor McGregor saw. So he decided he's going to turn it up. And how did all that start? All because Khabib said after the Michael Johnson fight, I want your chicken. Russia, 30 million. Ireland, 2 million. I want to fight your biggest chicken. And then that word stuck. The Dagestani started making chickens with Conor's faces on it out of cover of the grocery stores. And it provoked him to the point where he went up and got up and took a dolly and threw it right directly at Khabib while also hurting other fighters in the process. So why am I going on a tangent about an old fight that had already happened? Obviously, one of the most classic mixed martial arts fights and the greatest lead up to it. Because the bottom line that you have to understand is that you have to open your mouth, because closed mouths don't get fed. And you know what, Brian Ortega? You had the greatest performance of your whole entire life. Great story behind it. But unfortunately, I'm not knocking you for it, but you dropped the ball in terms of garnering attention. Now, I could be wrong. They may just hand you a title shot somewhere down the line, or just based on this performance. But just from what I understand, respectfully speaking, about the entertainment business and combat sports business, and I'm not talking about combat sports or mixed martial arts within the culture of the gyms. I'm talking about mixed martial arts and UFC within the culture and the confines of a Las Vegas office. Because they're looking at the numbers and saying, well, you know what? Brian Ortega is brilliant. He's great for the brand. Not only that, he's great for the UFC Mexico brand, even though he's an American, but just happens to have a Mexican heritage. But nonetheless, they just feel like we can't do anything about this particular lackluster post-fight speech. Now, if you were to say, you know what, Ilia Topuria, I'm going to go to Spain and I'm going to fight you like the bullfighter that I am, and I'm going to wave around a little red flag and try to provoke you and try to come at me like some matador, maybe, just maybe, that would have attracted a certain level of eyeballs. But at this point right now, Ilia Topuria is looking at himself saying Max Holloway is not going to be available. Obviously, I just beat Volkanovski. He wants a rematch. But he's been a long-time champion, so it looks like they may just give him that rematch because there's nobody else that's compelling. But if you were the Brian Ortega that can decompartmentalize the idea of being a Christian man, but also being a businessman, who knows? But I'm not saying whether you're right or you're wrong, but I just know and understand the internet culture, the culture of mixed martial arts, the culture of the casual fan base that is outside of MMA, and I'm talking about the people that do nothing but watch America's Got Talent or Taylor Swift or watching some random ABC channel, and yeah, the quote-unquote mainstream crowd of the world. They may not even know who you are. But if you talk your smack, you're provocative, sky's the limit. But right now, unfortunately, my time is also limited. I want you to like and subscribe. You've just limited yourself. And that is the unfortunate thing about that. Or is it? You never know. I don't make these videos to say that I'm correct or that I'm right about anything. I make these videos to create speculation and thought-provoking conversations when it comes to subjects that have no right or wrong in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. I'll see you guys in the next content. Inshallah.